Here's Brody Brazil.
There's been a lot of talk this weekend about the A's putting in an offer on a piece of land somewhere in southern Nevada, probably in or around Las Vegas. We don't know the exact location. We don't know the exact amount. There's a lot of details to be sorted out with that. But there's also this, which I saw in the Las Vegas Review-Journal, the great reporting of Mick Akers. You should definitely give him a follow. The Howard Hughes Corporation wants to offer the A's free land. They want to donate it if the team decides to relocate to Summerlin, Nevada, and build their $1 billion ballpark there. Now, to be clear, Summerlin is not the Las Vegas Strip, all right? I know this will get twisted in conversation, and people will say, hey, there's free land in Las Vegas. That's not exactly true. This is in Summerlin. And the ballpark is already there for the AAA team, and I should tell you, it's the Howard Hughes Corporation offering to donate this free land to the A's. They are the owners of the Las Vegas Aviators, the A's AAA team. They built that brand new stadium a couple years ago. It seats 10,000. It is a beautiful facility for the purpose that it serves. But now the Howard Hughes Corporation is saying, we've got more land. We'll give it to you for free if you come out here to Summerlin. There is a difference between Summerlin and the resort corridor and the Las Vegas Strip. But as you'll see later, and as discussed here in this article, there are some differences that go both ways about the A's not being on the Strip if they were to move to Las Vegas. So here is Peter Riley, who's the Senior Vice President and General Counsel for the Howard Hughes Corporation. I know they're getting a hard sell from different people on the Strip that own land that the A's want to buy. We can donate land. That would give us a big leg up, should they choose to make the decision to relocate. And we know that Dave Kaval and company have been down to Las Vegas several times. I think it's mentioned here in the piece 7 different times since May. And it talks here about the A's relationship with at least the Howard Hughes Corporation. Riley has given a couple more quotes here. It's like dominoes, he said, once the decision is made that they're definitely going to come to Las Vegas, I think you'll see the dominoes start to fall once they make the decision. And if they're really interested in Summerlin, then we would sit down with them and see if there's a deal that could be had. And again, Dave Kaval and the A's have talked about Summerlin. They've also talked about Henderson, which is here part of the conversation. And yeah, the negotiations must be very difficult on the Las Vegas Strip. I mean, you need a lot of land to build a ballpark, clearly enough land to build a resort or a hotel. So that's the kind of competition that the A's are in down there to try and really secure land on the Strip, if that's what they want to do. It talks here about, the overall backstory and how Major League Baseball gave the A's permission to go search Las Vegas. A market feasibility study is expected back, next week, the week after Thanksgiving, and exploring this market. Las Vegas, we don't really know how professional sports works there yet, right? The Golden Knights have been in town for a couple years. The Raiders are now having their first full season with fans at Allegiant Stadium. That's been going interesting. Not always selling out, not always having a true home crowd. As long as the Raiders are selling tickets, they're probably fine with it. But the dynamics of it are interesting, and not to mention, that's apples and oranges from 41 home dates in hockey to, 8 home dates in the NFL to 81 home games outside in the summer for a Major League Baseball team. So here is the other discrepancy too. If you move to Las Vegas, the allure is go to the Strip. That's where people are. That's where out-of-towners would want to travel to. You make this a destination. But here's what Riley said. This is an interesting quote. I've told the A's this. They're much better served to be in a residential area in Las Vegas because they've got to get fans to 81 games. You're not going to get that from tourists on the Strip. That's an interesting quote right there. Here is somebody who knows the ins and outs of Las Vegas development and the demographics down there. And quite honestly, I tried to make that bigger. Quite honestly, it's something we don't know yet. Are you better off having a baseball team or your pro sports team at the Strip like the Golden Knights have done, like the Raiders have done, or are you better off going somewhere else? That's an interesting assessment right there. That kind of goes against, I think, what the typical notion is. Riley also said the ease of access to the land that they have. Now, granted, he's also trying to jumpstart the conversation surrounding this free land. And again, free land, right? You're giving it away probably for a reason. There's probably something in it for his side of things too, right? You don't just say, "Oh, I want to do a good deed." Okay, so there's probably something else involved in it. You could bet fans from North Las Vegas, fans from Henderson, other areas that probably won't want to go to the Strip. Coming from the 215 allows easy access, as does the Summerlin Parkway. Quite frankly, people on the Strip are probably not going to be your hometown fan base, which is, again, what we've seen. Now, the Golden Knights seem to do a good job not getting overwhelmed with Los Angeles Kings fans, Ducks fans, Sharks fans. They do come. Las Vegas is a destination. Sports fans are going to want to make that trip and get their 2 for 1, the best of Vegas and the best of their team. But how does it work in baseball, like I said, with the quantity of games? Now, there's also this, which is pointed out here, which is kind of a sidestep on the article, but it's also something compelling to think about. With the A's lease at the Coliseum expiring in 2024, they likely need a temporary place to play before a new stadium is constructed. We're talking about if that decision was made to go to Las Vegas. Riley says that the Las Vegas ballpark could factor into that equation. That's the ballpark that I just showed you above, seats 10,000 currently right now. He says, quote, "The reality is they may have to play in our ballpark for a couple years temporarily no matter what happens." So we've talked around the edges of that possibility as well. What it would mean for us, the Aviators, our operation. Yeah, certainly you can't have 2 teams in there at the same time. There also is the ability for the Aviators to move out, go to Cashman Field. That's still a baseball stadium that exists in Las Vegas. But yeah, here it is. The 10,000-seat stadium opened up in 2019, cost them $150 million to build. And yeah, there's suites, there's party decks. It is a very good AAA ballpark. But obviously, they're discussing here using it as a temporary landing spot for the A's if there is a transition period. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of that article. I just thought there were several interesting things there from the Las Vegas side of this. We always think about the A's going to the Strip. That's the place they got to go for fans, for attendance, to make a splash. Here's somebody in Las Vegas. Now, granted, he's got a rooting interest, but here's somebody in Las Vegas saying the suburbs of like Summerlin or Henderson would actually be better for the market. And as referenced there in the piece, they will have market research data done and published probably next week, or at least done. I don't know if it'll be released by then. So again, this is all in the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'll have a link to this in the description below, but definitely interesting developments in Las Vegas, some new quotes, some new perspectives I'd never heard or thought about before. Maybe you're the same way too.